Power does not come from money, armies, or titles. Those are illusions handed out to the obedient. Real power begins in the mind. A weak mind collapses even inside a strong body, while a disciplined mind can bend nations without lifting a sword. Most men are ruled by their emotions: anger, love, fear. Puppets dancing on invisible strings. Machiavelli never trusted feelings. He used them as tools. If you want to stop living as prey, you must cut those strings. This is not about motivation. This is about becoming untouchable. Most people live like prey. They wake up each day scanning the horizon for threats, hoping not to be noticed, hoping not to be chosen. Every decision is ruled by fear. What if I fail? What if someone judges me? What if I lose? That voice is not yours. It is the voice of prey, a conditioned reflex that keeps you reactive, weak, and predictable. Machiavelli despised this mentality because it leaves you vulnerable to anyone bold enough to move first. A prey mind never leads, it only follows. It freezes, hesitates, and watches as opportunities vanish. A predator's mind is different. A predator does not wait for permission. A predator moves with intent, studies the field, and strikes with precision. It does not ask, will they like me? It asks, where is the weakness? What can I take? How do I move before anyone else even sees the opening? The difference is not cruelty, it is calculation. Prey reacts, predator acts. Prey hopes to survive, predator chooses to dominate. Think about business, politics, or even personal relationships. Look around. You will see prey everywhere. They overthink, they hesitate, they wait for someone else to make the first move. By the time they react, the door is already closed. Opportunities don't wait, they belong to those bold enough to seize them. Machiavelli advised rulers to act decisively when fortune opens a door, not to stand outside, debating whether they deserve to enter. The world rewards the one who moves first, not the one who plays safe. But make no mistake, predator thinking is not recklessness. A reckless man charges blindly at anything in front of him. That is not power, it is suicide. The predator studies, stalks, and waits until the perfect moment. It is calm even in hunger. It is patient even in pressure. Discipline separates the predator from the prey. Without calculation, boldness destroys itself. With calculation, boldness conquers everything. Ask yourself, how many opportunities have you watched pass because you were too afraid to try? How many times have you let weaker men take what could have been yours because you hesitated, overthought, or waited for approval? Prey. Prey minds die slowly, eaten not by predators but by their own hesitation. A predator asks a different question. What happens if I never try? What happens if I let someone else take what I should have claimed? That fear. The fear of being ordinary should drive you more than the fear of failure ever could. When you begin to think like a predator, people feel it. You move differently. You don't panic under pressure. You calculate. You don't hesitate when opportunity appears. You strike. While others drown in doubts and excuses, you are already 3 moves ahead, preparing to collect the reward. This creates an invisible authority. Others start to follow you because you seem to know where you are going. They sense your confidence, your clarity, and your refusal to hesitate. Machiavelli's prince understood this truth. Hesitation is death. When you wait for permission, when you ask for validation, you hand your power to someone else. Prey waits for green lights. Predator gives itself the command. You must stop broadcasting weakness, stop showing desperation, and stop playing the victim. Prey needs sympathy. Predator needs nothing but opportunity. So kill the prey mentality inside you. Replace fear with strategy, hesitation with movement, and excuses with results. Begin training your mind to ask predator questions. Where is the leverage? Where is the timing? Where is the weakness I can use? The moment you stop thinking, what if I fail, and start thinking, what if I don't move? That is the moment you cross the line from prey to predator. And once you cross, you never go back. Strength that can be seen is strength that can be countered. This is one of Machiavelli's most ruthless lessons, and one most people never understand. They reveal everything: what they love, what they fear, what they plan, and in doing so, they hand the keys of their mind to others. People think that transparency builds trust. In reality, transparency builds vulnerability. If they can read you, they can control you. A predator never exposes its hunger until the strike. It stalks silently, blending with the shadows, letting its target relax. Humans are no different. If you want to be mentally untouchable, you must learn to disguise yourself not by lying, but by mastering what you reveal. The world doesn't deserve access to your emotions. Every time you show your anger, your desperation, your excitement, you give someone leverage against you. A fortress with open gates is not a fortress at all. Psychological disguise means becoming unreadable. When you are furious, you appear calm. When you are uncertain, you appear confident. When you are deeply interested, you act indifferent. The goal is not to suppress emotion. It is to rule it so completely that you decide when, how, and if anyone sees it. Imagine the power of this. Others are slaves to their feelings, exploding when they're angry, begging when they're afraid, boasting when they're proud. But you move through life like a closed book. They cannot find your weak pages because you never open them. Think about it. When people cannot predict you, they cannot manipulate you. If no one knows what offends you, they cannot provoke you. If no one knows what you desire, they cannot bribe you. If no one knows what you fear, they cannot threaten you. Your silence, your calm, your neutrality, these become your armor. A concealed mind is a fortress without doors. Machiavelli advised rulers to appear virtuous while secretly acting in their own interest. You can adopt the same strategy with your mind. Appear agreeable, even harmless, while inside you are calculating every angle. Nod when you disagree. Laugh when you plan. Show interest when you feel nothing. Most people wear their emotions like a neon sign. They announce every feeling, every goal, every insecurity. You will do the opposite. You will let them underestimate you. And underestimation is one of the greatest strategic advantages in life. Ask yourself, who is easier to defeat? The man who shouts, his anger reveals his plans and begs for recognition, or the man who seems calm, who reveals nothing, who listens more than he speaks. The first invites attack. The second terrifies his enemies because they don't know where he stands or when he might strike. That uncertainty breeds caution, and caution is respect in disguise. Psychological disguise also shields you from the manipulations of others. People constantly test boundaries through flattery, guilt, intimidation. They search for buttons to push. If you show which button works, they'll press it forever. But if every attempt meets the same response, silence, calmness, indifference, they will eventually stop trying. You become untouchable, not because you never feel, but because no one ever sees what you feel. Consider this: the most feared individuals in history were not those who shouted the loudest. They were the ones who smiled when insulted, who stayed calm under pressure, who gave nothing away. Their silence was louder than other men's shouting. Their calm terrified more than open rage ever could. That is the aura you must cultivate. Not noise, not desperation. Cold control. And here lies the paradox: the more disciplined your disguise, the more power you gain without effort. People begin to project their own fears and assumptions onto you. They invent myths about your strength because they cannot measure it. They hesitate, second guess, and retreat, not because you threatened them, but because you didn't. When you stop showing your hand, they imagine you're holding aces. But disguise is not deception for its own sake. It is sovereignty. It is about reclaiming full control over yourself. Your emotions serve you privately, not the world publicly. Your ambitions guide you silently, not as a banner to wave. By the time others realize what you are building, it is already finished and untouchable. That is the advantage of a concealed mind. By the time they see the fortress, the walls are too high to scale. Of course, this will unsettle people. They will call you cold, arrogant, even ruthless. Good. Let them speak. Their discomfort is proof that you are no longer chained to their expectations. They cannot read you, and that terrifies them. Machiavelli would say this is exactly the point to be feared, not because you lash out, but because you refuse to be moved. Most men seek pity when they fail, comfort when they're weak, applause when they endure. But pity attracts predators. Pity invites condescension. The man who begs for understanding is never respected. The man who disguises his weakness, who radiates calm even in chaos, he commands attention without asking. He becomes the anchor in every storm, the one others look to when they panic. This is psychological disguise, not a mask to fool others, but a discipline to protect yourself. Every reaction becomes a conscious choice, not a leak of emotion. Every silence becomes a statement. Every calm response becomes a weapon. The fortress mind is not about being fake, it is about being sovereign. When no one can read you, no one can chain you. And when you become unreadable, you become unstoppable. Most men spend their lives chasing love, chasing approval, chasing the fragile comfort of being liked. They think if people love them, they'll be safe. They think if they are kind enough, humble enough, agreeable enough, they will be rewarded. But Machiavelli saw the truth 5 centuries ago. Love is fickle, soft, and unreliable. Love is given freely and withdrawn just as freely. It is a rope made of sand. You cannot build power on it. Fear, however, is different. Fear is respect crystallized. Fear is not about terrorizing people. It is about becoming so steady, so untouchable, that no one dares to cross you. When people fear losing your presence, your favor, your respect, they treat you with caution. That caution is more valuable than love because it does not shift with moods. Fear anchors respect in a way love never can. But first, you must kill your craving for pity. Weak men expose their wounds hoping for sympathy. They display their pain, their insecurities, their need to be understood. They think pity is love in disguise. It isn't. Pity invites predators. Pity attracts condescension. The man who begs for compassion becomes dependent on others for his worth. And what others give, they can always take away. A powerful mind never begs for fairness, kindness, or recognition. It does not argue for its value. It demonstrates value by needing nothing. This is the aura of fear, not cruelty but independence so complete that people sense they cannot move you. You do not collapse when insulted. You do not explode when disrespected. You simply withdraw your presence, your cooperation, your favor. And those who disrespected you feel the loss more than if you had shouted in anger. Silence cuts deeper than rage. Think of the men who seem impossible to rattle. They rarely raise their voices, yet when they speak, everyone listens. They do not argue for respect. They embody it. Their calm unsettles the emotional. Their restraint terrifies the reckless. Why? Because they cannot be provoked. The world is full of people who explode when pushed. But the man who does not break, he becomes dangerous. He creates an aura of fear without ever lifting a hand. Machiavelli advised princes to punish betrayal swiftly and reward loyalty strategically, never emotionally. Apply this to your own life. Do not grant unlimited forgiveness. Do not let others test you endlessly. Make your tolerance rare and your boundaries absolute. When people learn you cannot be manipulated with kindness, when they know you will walk away without hesitation, they begin to fear losing you. That fear is respect in its sharpest form. Contrast this with men who beg to be loved. They smile when they are disrespected, laugh when they are mocked, forgive endlessly when they are betrayed. They think this earns them love. It doesn't. It earns them contempt. Love given to weakness is never real. It is convenience dressed as affection. Machiavelli knew it is safer to be feared than loved because fear secures respect while love evaporates under pressure. Fear in this context is not cruelty. A cruel man lashes out because he is insecure. He must shout, threaten, dominate loudly because inside he is fragile. A feared man, by contrast, does not need noise. His strength is felt in his silence, in his discipline, in the invisible weight he carries. He does not need to tell you he is strong, you feel it. And that feeling guides your behavior more powerfully than affection ever could. To build this aura, strip away every sign of desperation. Never let anyone see you crave approval, fairness, or pity. Stop explaining yourself. Stop justifying your actions. Every time you explain, you prove you need someone else's validation. Power is not explained. Power is projected. The moment you stop begging to be understood, you start commanding respect without asking. Ask yourself, when have you lost respect in the past? Was it when you shouted trying to prove your worth? Was it when you forgave too much, hoping they would love you? Was it when you explained yourself endlessly, begging to be understood? Every one of those moments was weakness disguised as kindness. And weakness, Machiavelli reminds us, is an invitation to be exploited. Instead, adopt the principle of scarcity. Make your attention rare, your forgiveness rarer, your approval priceless. People fear losing what is rare. They do not fear what is abundant. If you are always available, always forgiving, always eager to be liked, you become cheap. If you are disciplined, selective, and boundaried, you become valuable. That value breeds fear, not terror, but caution, reverence, respect. And understand this, the world will hate you for it. They will call you cold, arrogant, even ruthless. Good. Let them speak. Their resentment is proof you are no longer chained to their approval. Weak men need applause to move. Strong men move without permission. The feared man is not cruel. He is free. And that freedom exposes the slavery of others. Fear is not about making people cower. It is about establishing psychological weight. People feel it when they cannot push you around, when they cannot predict your reaction. They approach with care, with respect, because they sense consequences in every interaction. Love may attract followers, but fear builds loyalty. Not loyalty born of affection, but loyalty born of respect, the only loyalty that endures. So remember, to be feared is not to be violent. It is to be immovable. It is to show the world you cannot be bribed with compliments broken by insults or manipulated by pity. You radiate an aura that says, I do not need you. I will not beg you. And if you cross me, you will feel the loss. That is what Machiavelli meant when he said, it is safer to be feared than loved. Love is soft. Fear is solid. Love fades. Fear lasts. If you want true respect, stop begging to be loved. Make yourself immovable, and they will fear losing you. That fear is the purest respect you will ever command. Power is not a throne, a crown, or a title. Those are symbols, fragile ornaments given and taken by the crowd. Real power is invisible. It is the ability to bend people and events to your will without anyone realizing your hand is on them. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. The most dangerous prince is the one who does not look like a prince at all. Visible power is fragile. The moment you chase recognition, you hand others the weapon to destroy you, their approval. They can lift you with applause, and they can bury you with criticism. A man addicted to visibility becomes a servant to the crowd. He does not rule, he entertains. He does not lead, he performs. His crown is a leash, and the people holding it can pull whenever they please. Invisible power is different. It does not need applause. It does not need permission. It does not need to be displayed to be real. It is silent influence, the quiet ability to move the board without showing your hand. A ruler without a crown is far more dangerous than one who demands recognition because no one sees him coming. By the time they realize his influence, it is already too late. How do you build this kind of power? First, you must rule yourself. No one trusts a man who cannot control his own emotions. Discipline, silence, patience, these are the marks of invisible strength. When chaos erupts, others panic, but you remain calm. And because calm is rare, people begin to orbit around you. They sense stability in you, and without even realizing it, they grant you authority. You did not demand it. You simply embodied it. Second, you must master leverage. Leverage is not always money or position. Information is leverage. Silence is leverage. The The perception that you are calm under pressure is leverage. In every interaction, you are either building or losing leverage. Weak men give it away by speaking too much, revealing too much, needing too much. Strong men collect it quietly, storing it like a predator, waiting for the right strike. Third, you must let others believe they move by their own will, even when you are the one shaping the field. Machiavelli warned leaders not to demand recognition for their victories. A ruler who needs to announce his power already fears losing it. The true master lets others think they chose, that they decided, that they acted freely, while in reality he positioned every step. This is the essence of ruling without a crown. No rebellion rises against you because no one feels ruled. Think of meetings, negotiations, friendships, even family dynamics. Most people rush to speak first, eager to prove their worth. They flood the air with noise, thinking words equal power. But the one who waits, who listens, who strikes with clarity at the perfect moment, that is the one everyone remembers. His silence makes his words heavier. His restraint makes his moves sharper. He does not need to dominate the room. The room adjusts to him. The irony of invisible power is this: the less you chase attention, the more it comes to you. People trust the calm voice, not the loud one. They follow the steady hand, not the desperate one. The moment you stop demanding recognition, you begin to receive it naturally. Authority is never taken seriously by those who beg for it. Authority flows to those who carry themselves as if they already have it. But beware, once you boast about your power, you weaken it. Once you brag about your influence, you invite challengers. The crown is heavy because it is visible. Keep your victories quiet, and they become permanent. Rule silently, and no one rises against you. Let others take the credit while you take the control. History remembers kings, but kingdoms are built by those who move unseen. This is why Machiavelli said a prince should never rely on affection. Affection changes with the wind. Instead, build a reputation for strength, decisiveness, and control. Let people respect your mind more than they like your personality. Respect lasts. Popularity evaporates. To be loved is to be dependent. To be respected is to be sovereign. Ask yourself, are you chasing visible power or building invisible power? Do you need applause to feel strong, or can you rule silently while others think they are free? The man addicted to recognition is always at risk of losing it. The man who rules without a crown can never be dethroned because no one sees his throne. Invisible power does not announce itself. It does not ask to be seen. It does not argue for its existence. It simply shapes reality until no one remembers what it was like before. That is the essence of ruling without a crown, not loud, not desperate, not frantic, but cold, strategic, untouchable. The crown is for men who need to be seen. True rulers need nothing but control. So stop chasing recognition. Stop begging for titles. Stop announcing your victories. Build your influence in silence. Move pieces while others argue. Rule the board while others fight for attention. When you embody invisible power, you do not need to convince anyone you are in control. They will feel it. They will adjust to it. And by the time they realize you were ruling all along, it will be too late to resist. That is how you rule without a crown. Most people will never make it this far. They click away when the truth gets uncomfortable, when the words cut too deep, when the mirror shows them their chains. But you stayed, and that alone proves something: you are not like most people. You are willing to confront what others run from. That is the first mark of transformation. Let's burn everything you've learned into your memory so it never fades. Power is not given, it is forged, and the fire that forges it begins in the mind. Step 1. Break the chains. The first chain is invisible. The need to be liked, approved, applauded. Most people live as prisoners of opinion, begging for validation, like scraps from a master's table. Every decision they make is dictated by fear of losing approval. But approval is worthless. It is a leash, and whoever holds it controls you. You cut that leash. You stopped craving permission to think, speak, or act. That moment you became dangerous. Weak men beg for validation. Powerful men replace that craving with clarity. You no longer move for applause. you move for purpose. Step 2. Adopt the predator's mindset. The prey asks, "What if I fail?" The predator asks, "What if I never try?" Most people freeze under pressure, overthink every move, and watch as opportunities vanish. That is prey mentality. Reactive, fearful, predictable. You killed that mindset. You embraced the predator's approach, proactive, decisive, strategic. You learned to stalk, to study, to strike with precision. You no longer wait for permission. You no longer need green lights. You give yourself the command, and once you made that shift, you stopped being prey. You became the hunter. Step 3. Build the fortress. Mind strength that is visible can be countered. Emotions worn openly can be exploited. That is why most people are weak. They broadcast their every feeling, their every wound, their every ambition. They beg to be read, and in doing so, they beg to be controlled. You refused. You built disguise into discipline. When you are angry, you show nothing. When you are uncertain, you project confidence. When you are hungry, you appear indifferent. The world no longer reads you, it fears you. Because mystery is power. When they cannot predict you, they cannot provoke you. When they cannot find your doors, they cannot break your walls. Your mind became a fortress without gates. Step 4. Choose fear over love. Love is soft, fickle, fragile. It is given freely and withdrawn freely. You cannot build power on it. Fear, however, is respect crystallized, not cruelty, not violence, but the unshakable weight of self-command. You stopped chasing pity, applause, and endless forgiveness. You made your attention rare, your tolerance scarce, your presence valuable. You understood Machiavelli's brutal truth: it is safer to be feared than loved. Because love fades, fear endures. People may not adore you, but they approach with caution, with respect, with hesitation. And that hesitation is worth more than 1,000 smiles. Step 5. Rule without a crown. Titles can be stripped, thrones can be stolen, recognition can be turned into ridicule overnight. Visible power is fragile. Invisible power, however, cannot be dethroned because no one sees the throne. You stopped demanding recognition. You stopped announcing victories. You began shaping reality, quietly positioning yourself so that others follow without knowing why. You built leverage from silence, patience, and information. You learned the paradox: the less you chase attention, the more it flows to you. By the time others realize you were leading all along, it's too late to resist. That is how you rule without a crown. These 5 principles are not theory, they are weapons, and now they are yours. But weapons mean nothing if they stay on the shelf. You must wield them daily until they become part of you. Break the chains every time you crave approval. Ask predator questions every time you hesitate. Wear the disguise every time you feel exposed. Choose fear over love every time you are tempted to beg. Rule without a crown every time you want to announce yourself. This is how you burn the lessons into muscle, into bone, into instinct. And here is the truth: the world will not thank you for this transformation. They will resent it. They will label you cold, arrogant, ruthless. They will try to shame you back into the herd. Why? Because your freedom exposes their slavery. Your strength reminds them of their weakness. They want you to soften, to beg, to explain, because that makes them feel safe. Refuse them. Their resentment is proof you are on the right path. Do not expect applause for becoming untouchable. Expect resistance. Expect envy. Expect whispers. And let them come. You owe them nothing. You do not need their recognition, their understanding, or their forgiveness. You already cut those chains. What you owe is to yourself, to never fall back into weakness, to never let the fortress crumble, to never live like prey again. Power is not a gift. It is not an inheritance. It is not luck. Power is the discipline of mind repeated daily until it radiates so strongly that no one can ignore it. Now, if you are still here, if you endured every truth without flinching, you are not like most people. Most quit. You stayed. That makes you rare. That makes you dangerous. That makes you part of a different tribe, the minority who will not live chained, who will not beg for love, who will not hide behind excuses. But don't let this be just words in your ears. Turn them into scars on your habits. Prove that you are not like the rest. Apply what you've learned relentlessly, ruthlessly, consistently. And if you want to keep sharpening your edge, to keep growing into the kind of person no one can control, then stay here. Subscribe not for me, but for yourself. Like this video, not for approval, but as proof that you cut your leash. Because the world will never see you the same way again, and that's the point. You don't need a crown to rule. You don't need applause to be powerful. You don't need permission to move. You already have everything you need, a mind that cannot be broken, a will that cannot be bent, and a presence that cannot be ignored. Most people will remain prisoners forever. But you are already walking free.